2010, and I'm speaking with Malcolm Adams at Mal's Bar.
That's right.
In Kakigawa.
That's right.
Shizuoka.
Right. Okay. In beautiful downtown Kakigawa,
Yeah.
as I like to say on my blog.
Right across from the golf driving range.
Absolutely, on my country club. Okay, I'm going to say it like so. Yeah.
All right.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to this edition of Japan Journal, coming to you live from Mal's Bar. I'm in the company of one Yano Christine Yano from Hawaii, who came, among other things, to do in Japan, specifically to visit us here and talk to us about cross-cultural issues, and as her specialty is anthropology. Is that right?
That's right.
And ethnicity,
Ethno-Musicology.
Ethno-Musicology from University of Hawaii at the Manoa campus.
Correct.
Is that pronounced correctly?
That's right.
Did I do that right?
You did.
Okay, so welcome to her, and I've asked to record this for our Japan Journal program so that I can share whatever of interest may come out of this exchange, but mainly it's for her recorder here, and she's going to ask me all kinds of questions, and I'll try to give the best responses, but I have a few questions for her.
Okay.
As we discuss these international cross-cultural issues about life in Japan and things Japanese that may pertain to her specialty. Sure. So, listen in. We're going to ignore you guys and act like nobody's watching here.
We're just talking.
Yeah, right. Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So
Thank
we've touched on a lot of things, and I hope that some of that is useful as a background, but go ahead and...
everything's useful.
Where do you want me to sign here?
Oh, okay, here. Sure, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And this is an agreement to participate in my project, and my project is called Obama no Obama. And I'm looking at Barack Obama and the image of Barack Obama in Japan. Of course, it's changing, but I conceived of this when he was running, and there was a real Obama mania, right, in Japan.
Yes.
And you were here, Mel, as part of that. And that's why I was really wanting to talk to Mel, because of his involvement in Obama mania, his involvement in some issues that came up in the process of that. So, thank you.
I do not wish to remain anonymous. You may publish this and use my name accordingly.
Thank you
my
very much.
image, if I may have the same privileges for you. We'll
Absolutely.
Just ditto that. Give me a copy of that when you before you leave, and I'll have a reference. Okay.
All right. So Mal, tell me, why don't you tell me the story of your involvement with the kind of the infamous or the famous cell phone monkey ad? What was it, in 2008?
Yes.
Right? So if you can just recount that story for me, would you please?
Well, you mentioned 2008. That was at the time when the Obama mania, as you say, took the globe over. His popularity and his attractiveness to all various sorts of people. And of course it caught on here in Japan. And Japan being the marketing nation that it is, the business nation that it is, a e-mobile company, which is a cell phone provider, facility of cell phone software and access kinds of technology, decided to take advantage of this popularity and use it in a commercial to promote its new cell phone product. The problem with it was that their mannequin and their marketing icon was a monkey, which in Japan is something that's very cute. He's respected for his intelligence. If you go to temples around Japan, you see the monkey image. We call it the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil images on temples that date back hundreds of years in Japan. So the monkey has a history and a place in Japan's mind and heart, which is positive. And the problem with their portrayal of Obama as this monkey person resulted in a cross-cultural faux pas, as I like to describe it. And the background on it is that, let me preface it by saying that what we learned here and what became exposed here was that although this is an island nation and heretofore much of what went on in Japan stayed in Japan, domestic, political, and sociological kind of exchanges is no longer the case, as with the advent of the internet, which makes the globe very small, a village community now, global village community, as Marshall McLuhan described it years ago in the 60s. It has come to pass. So much so that the discourse in Japan is no longer kept to Japan. So an African-American published and created internet blog called blacktokyo.com made a publication of this issue and generated some responses. Hello, my friend, I'm recording here. Sit down, I'll be right with you. Thanks, good to see you, James. Heard you coming back. Okay. Generated some responses on this internet blog, the blacktokyo.com. It became known to those of us who live here, and then I was contacted as someone who has played a leadership role in terms of African American affairs as it relates to the Japanese lifestyle and culture here, to see if we can do something to publicize this issue and maybe get it corrected.
So who is the person that runs blacktokyo.com?
Can't come up with a name, but I'll give you the referral on that. Yeah,
right.
Probably just go Google that. Yeah,
okay.
I can give you a reference. But that was one of several online entities that publicized this issue.
Okay.
Some of the information through the internet came back to us from the United States as well.
Oh.
So it was dispersed, but I got calls from within Japan, from African American residents here.
Okay.
And then I immediately contacted the president, the authorities of the company, and described to them that this was an offensive cultural faux pas and they would do well to correct it or remove it, because our intention was to publicize it and demonstrate our protest against it as something that is culturally offensive, probably racist, or at least a cross-cultural faux pas that was rooted in the legacy of negative caricatures of African Americans that we had experienced over the years in Japan, in the United States, and now has manifested itself here, probably as a misunderstanding.
Okay. Now, why did people contact you?
Because I'm a long-standing guy, the godfather of the community here, and I get a lot of calls like this under these circumstances.
Oh, okay.
There's someone who responds.
All right.
Mainly because I have language skills and connectivity, and the ability to demonstrate our joint concern about certain issues. It's just something I've been doing for 30 years.
Yeah.
As the original, one of the members, founding members and one of the early presidents of the Japan African American Friendship Association, and similar kinds of organizations.
Right.
So it's just been a role. And someone who's visible and obvious through the media, absolutely, as a career in broadcasting in Japan.
Okay. Can you say just a little bit about your background in broadcasting, which would make you, in fact, the logical go-to guy? Right?
Yes. Well, many people who are here now and decide to make their home here used to watch me on TV from the United States, broadcasting Japanese news over the CBS News Network and the Worldwide Cable News Network on a daily basis.
Okay. So you were the CBS correspondent for Japan?
That's right. Tokyo Bureau. Right.
From what year?
1981, 82 originally, and then around 84 I started the CNN Tokyo Bureau here.
All right. Okay.
And I'm going to pause right there.
All right.
And James, sorry man.
That's all right.
Got a little interview going on here.
Sorry about that, James.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Say hi to Christine
James.
Yano from Hawaii, who's come out here to 10 more minutes of this, and we're going to pick up. You're there. Enjoy it.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Are you rolling?
Yes. Let me make sure. Got my knowledge here. This one.
All right. We're continuing our conversation.
That conversation. That
Right.
question.
And okay. So I found out there's what is it? Japan African American. What was it?
Friendship Association.
Friendship.
Which is,
Is that still going?
we just had our 25th anniversary, and you can see my keynote speech online on my Japan Journal blog.
Fantastic.
For that, yeah.
Okay.
And there are a lot of interesting cross-cultural stories that come up through that, so
Okay.
you can pick up some information from that. But we're probably about 26 years now, that might be last year, 26, 27 years. A place for African Americans particularly, but not exclusively,
Okay.
to come and join camaraderie, cultural exchange, a vehicle through which we can disseminate and educate Japanese about our culture, music, or what have you, in American history, and gain their support in promoting positive images.
Okay.
And then we have a problem of some a need in many cases of dispelling some stereotypical images that were inherited from post-World War II. So.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about those images in just a bit. But
Okay.
I want to just finish up the story on the Obama.
Yes.
Okay. So they contact you.
Yes, I was called by many
And,
people. Some of the calls went thusly. Man, we got to do something about this. My daughter, we're traveling on the train, and she sees this picture of a monkey selling this cell phone, and he's acting like President Obama. And
Not president yet.
President to be Obama at that time, but candidate Obama, and there was some confusion on the part of the double child.
I see. Okay.
Well, you know, why is that? Why are they copying Mr. Obama? You know, so one parent expressed his outrage through the confusion it generated in his child, and created some issues for him to explain, why this would happen. You know, that was one side of it. The other was just another in a series of kind of issues that we have to deal with. Which are never very heavy and never things that we can't overcome, but certain things that would behoove us to deal with before it becomes something that is an interference with our gainful pursuit of employment or establishing our identity here in Japan.
So what do you do? So you've heard all these stories.
Yep.
They're saying do something. So what did you do?
First, I question it as a journalist would and say, well, is this person just being ticked off, or what's behind it?
Is it a legitimate complaint?
Is it a legitimate complaint? I haven't seen the commercial. Let me investigate it. So when I saw the video, I said, aha, this is not good. That's my initial reaction. Well, my second reaction, as I continue to analyze it, as a journalist would, is to say, well, why could this happen? And what I came up with, well, it could happen because of lack of awareness and understanding about the cultural insensitivity that it represented in the eyes of resident foreign Americans in general and African Americans in specific. Okay. And I say that because it was beyond just being black in Japan. It was about being an American in Japan, because this guy was the potential next leader of the United States.
All right.
In the midst of that euphoria about him, right? Then my third analysis went to, well, there's a business reason for it. And what is the business reason? This guy is generating all kinds of interest around the world, and to tie this icon or mannequin or caricature that represents the company prior to the Obama campaign, it didn't just come up. The monkey has been their mannequin, so to speak.
Was it?
Yes, it has been. It was prior to the Obama euphoria. The monkey has been the campaign marketing.
Oh, E-Mobile.
Yes. And the reason that was because of the love and the appreciation and respect for animals in Japan, particularly the monkey, as I described earlier. He has an image of being a clever, intelligent animal that's very funny. There have been television shows that use trained monkeys, and they're high ratings and stuff, so it's a positive thing. And for them to use this and have this animal do human-like things to promote their product makes a lot of sense and generated a lot of revenue for them as a marketing tool.
Sure.
One more point about this business aspect of this thing. The rival company of E-Mobile also had a dog, which was a member of the father of a family that included a black guy and a Japanese woman. It was a crazy company.
What is the company? that you're talking about?
I'll get the name to you.
Okay.
It's another mobile phone company or a telephone
Okay.
company. So it was a rival company to this business, and the use of the monkey was designed to offset and compete with the dog commercial, which was going through the roof as a very popular commercial in Japan. So that preceded this. And then, as another step in the rivalry and the campaign battle, the monkey can do change. We were training to do that, and they did, and that's what resulted in them using the Obama image.
Tell me what other kinds of monkey commercials there were with eMobile. So if they were using the monkey before
Yes.
Obama,
Yeah.
how were they using it?
Imitating, having the monkey doing, maybe go shopping or something like this. I can't call specifically, but they used him in many ways. And it wasn't just the mobile commercial. There are monkey shows. There are programs that feature the monkey taking a little kid to school or going shopping for a housewife or something like this. So there are many uses of the monkey image and his activity as a trained animal to touch the heart and mind of Japanese. So generally speaking, things along those lines.
Okay.
So
All right.
nothing that sticks out as a misuse of the monkey in terms of what he's being portrayed Obama.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And okay, so you're fielding these thoughts. And
So I
what
came
do you
up,
do?
yeah. So it occurred to me that it was significant enough, and the disgruntlement on the part of resident African Americans and other Americans was significant enough for me to intercede and intervene with whatever I could do. And the journalist in me says, just go straight to the top and see if we can get some understanding. So I sent an email to the company president and told him of the situation. The reason I'm calling is because I'm getting calls and people concerned about the negative portrayal of the beloved candidate Obama's using this monkey. And in the cultural context in America, there's a history of racist history of using caricatures about black people. And anybody who's aware globally, internationally, is aware that this would be an unwise thing to do. So we're wondering why, if you had the knowledge, first of all, if you were aware of it, then why would you allow it to happen? If you weren't aware of it, you need to be aware of it, and you'd be advised to get it off, because it could be a disservice to your company image if it continues to go viral on the internet as it's been doing.
So at that point, you're sounding like you're helping the company out.
My function is always to blend and balance here. That's my role in Japan. I'm not here to represent any one particular part. And the objectivity I'm trained to elicit. And, as a journalist, there's always been that approach. I'm not pointing a finger. There's enough people wanting to do that who are not willing to recognize the other side that led to this happening. So I'm giving this guy an out. You say, explain yourself, but do the right thing, and let's get this thing off the air. That would be my suggestion. Because my intention is to go public with this issue to represent this relevant of the African American residents here in Japan on the CNN Global Network tomorrow. And he read the letter and pulled the commercial.
Really?
Almost like that, yeah. Within 24 hours.
What did he respond to you?
It's on the interview, and I'm going to, for my Japan Journal, I'll insert a segment of this for this particular thing, but basically he explained to me that whoa, 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 whoa kind of thing. We had no clue. As president of this company, that was something that was charged to his creative people, his commercial people, using an outside American or Western ad agency's office in Japan. And I immediately called the headquarters of the ad agency in London.
What ad agency?
I'll come up with the name later. I'll give it to you. Can't think of it off the top. But they're New York based, but the headquarters is in London. So I just contacted his representative in London, and he says, oh, no, that decision was made locally in Japan. I said, okay, we'll check it out, but if it was launched in New York or in the United States, you got a problem.
That's right. Really?
And they assured me there would be no problem. They had nothing to do with it. It was a Japanese creative staff situation. I said, okay, fine. Good to know. We'll get back to you. that was his story, and he stuck with it. And nobody's offered any. They took the fall. The local creative people here in Japan.
So they finally admitted that it was their idea?
Well, there was no question about it, that the idea was presented to the management of the mobile company. They come up with the concept, and they said, how's this? And the company, the president, the guy in interview said, yeah, this is great, because it's a great way to get a message. Obama's he's doing very well with this style change, and we're trying to change your, support of this opposing product, change to our thing, let's go with it. Riding the coattails of the Obama mania, right? Great business decision, but just wrong content, that's all. So my intention all along was to get some understanding and try to distinguish the motive from something that is overtly racist in the traditional sense of the United States or in the West, and something that is more rooted in cross-cultural misunderstanding, ignorance, unsophistication, lack of awareness of foreign things and foreign cultures, unless it behooved them business-wise to be aware of it. And so I'm doing them a favor by saying, bad business choice.
Right.
Understand why,
Right.
And let's move on. So that's what happened ultimately.
Okay.
Then we went on CNN with it, and it went viral again with all kinds of responses.
So you still went on CNN?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Because I've been trained never to suppress a story if you got one, right? So that was the deal. That was my intent initially, and I told them that I was intending to do this whether they gave me an interview anyway. So my appeal was I'd like to talk to you one-on-one from my Japan Journal blog and allow you an opportunity to discuss this. And there's some mitigating things that might gain understanding and keep you from falling out of favor with your American counterparts who reside here or globally for that matter, because it is in fact a global village now,
right,
given the media, the mass media, and the internet.
I mean, that's the big message.
That is the big message.
Yeah.
The discourse in Japan is no longer relegated to Japan only. So it's a media thing, it's a communication thing, basically, and it's a cross-cultural communication issue. And it's a learning moment. For all. That's the end of it all. I mean, that's the bottom line. So now, all of a sudden, because of this issue, we learn to understand each other a little bit better through this cross-cultural exchange. Which is why I use the word photo.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you think that the Japanese company learned?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the tuition for that lesson was millions of dollars, because they were in the midst of a national campaign where this commercial was being played nationally, and they pulled it. So it cost them a lot of money. It was painful, which you'll hear on my interview with the president of him admitting to. He said, we just took the hit because we would rather not air and offend anybody from our poor choice and misunderstanding. We'll pay the price for it, which they did. It cost them a lot of money. But so that was a big lesson they learned, yeah.
Right. Okay, let's put it this way. If there were no such thing as the internet,
Right.
and if you had just said, I am a resident, I represent these African American residents in Japan, and we African Americans living in Japan, and other Americans living in Japan, find this offensive, do you think you would have pulled the ad?
No.
Okay.
I think he would have said, well, that was not our intent, I'm sorry, but
Too bad.
thank you for the information, and we'll remember that in the future or something like that, and that's, they would just establish that there was no intent to offend
Right.
at a crucial state.
Okay.
So it was definitely the power of the media and the power of the press. As a journalist, I've used it throughout my career,
Right.
and it worked in short order this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about
that's
that.
why I get the calls,
Right.
Okay.
Okay. That's why you get the calls, because they know that you're a media person.
I'll go global overnight with a press conference or a media producer, so I can get the message out. Yeah.
So as somebody who's very media savvy, global media savvy, what was the threat to the Japanese company? What did they fear the most about this going global?
Being misunderstood and being misconstrued, and getting an image, getting a negative image from something that was not intended to offend, And through his explanation of this, I trusted him, I believed him, and I think the message got out. If you look at my blog, you'll see different reactions from people who observe this and say, the guy's blowing a lot of smoke at you. They knew this all the time. But I'm telling you, the interesting thing about it was the guy who was in charge of the company was a Hong Kong Chinese guy who was very fluent in Japanese and had done business in Japanese and was promoted to this position by a Japanese chairman who was educated in the United States. So the upper echelon of management really didn't manage it or have hands-on in the campaign. They left it to middle management people, apparently, who were Japanese, who took it and thought it was a great idea.
Right.
And only until we made an issue of it did they say, oh boy, we blew it.
But actually, even if it goes global, tell me how that affects them in terms of business, because their business is in Japan. So why would it matter that there's global censure?
Because of public sentiment, because of imagery, and you don't want, even though they're not selling anything globally necessarily, they may in fact have. It's still the power of the press, the power of public sentiment through the media is significant enough to affect the image of the product or the acceptance of the product. Particularly when you've tied it to somebody, it was really not so much the global media, it was the largesse of the guy, Obama, who was doing all the big, generating all this attention globally.
Right.
And so it was much not wanting to offend him or people who supported him, as well as the global access that this thing has. I don't know if anybody in Africa heard about this,
right,
but certainly in the United States and Europe, particularly in the United States, and you don't want to offend the Americans, I think.
So it's still this notion that America and the opinion of America is powerful in Japan.
Extremely.
Okay.
Yeah, no question about it.
Because that's what this, in some ways, boils down to.
Yes, yes, yes.
So if this were, say, the Netherlands, I don't think they might not have changed.
America's number one media nation in the world, right? So we drive that. So they play into that. They copy it. This is part of them emulating America, the media promotions and campaigns. That's what got them in trouble. So they picked the wrong connection.
Right. So it is partly the power of America that we're talking about here.
Absolutely. Part of the power of American public opinion. No question about it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
For them to suddenly realize beyond their wildest imaginations that the discourse in Japan could be judged by the American public.
Right.
And to a point where it had an effect, it had an impact, it had a meaning, significant enough meaning for them to change their ways. Yeah.
Do you think at all the Japanese government got wind of it? Could the Japanese government have pressured this company to pull the ad?
No, they didn't have time because I wrote the letter hours before they pulled the commercial.
All right.
So it was pretty much, by his own admission, it was a letter that I wrote. I was the one that got into him. The letter got to them, and they made the decision after they realized the impact of it. Because it gave enough evidence of how this thing was generating negative opinion for them. And as someone who's involved in a professional corporate communications guy, public relations guy, professional, I gave him the benefit of my advice. On the one hand, as a gesture. On the one hand, a business thing. Wrong choice here, right? Number two, as an African American representative of a lot of African Americans, foul. Number three, as an educator, there's a better way. And you need to be aware of the unsophisticated, ignorant mistake that you made because of your lack of awareness of the cultural sensitivity regarding this thing. So it was a three-pronged kind of thing, multi-thing. We're just not pointing fingers here. There was a moment it was a chance for me to educate a guy who, through his marketing, had an opportunity. Of course, then at the end of the day, and on camera, I believe, I wasn't being cheeky. I said, you should have asked me. I could have made a better commercial for you. That's the business guy in me, right? So
why not? Maybe the last one.
Yeah, exactly. We'll probably be getting called in the future. But what an opportunity, right? To make a buck. But no, that clearly wasn't my motivation.
Yeah. But question, did they ever use the monkey again in future ads?
The monkey continues to be there, as far as I know. Their thing is just particular, banded with this particular scenario.
Okay. Okay. So the monkey, they kept the monkey.
Yeah, he's there.
As like a figure.
He's there. He was there before, and he was
Yeah.
there after. It's just
Okay.
that this is a wrong scenario, wrong story,
Yeah.
wrong.
Right.
Yeah. So. So no problem with the monkey, you know. It's
all right.
what they had him doing,
Yeah.
you know, that caused the problem, right?
Yeah. I'm just curious now. It made it sound as if it touched a particularly raw nerve for African Americans living in Japan. Can you tell me something about that nerve that it touched?
Sure. It's not only African Americans living in Japan. The African Americans living in Japan were on the front line and the first responders. But that's not altogether true because, as I explained to you, it came by virtue of cross Pan-Pacific exchange by the internet. The community was very small, so it was an African American thing in general, and not exclusively African American Democrats. The Democratic Party was outraged. The Democratic Party of Japan was outraged. You mentioned the government being aware. The embassy was notified.
So this is all before you contacted.
This was around the same time. No, this was as a result of the splash that we made and the publicity that we generated through the CNN coverage. And it was contingent.
Okay.
Around the same time, there were concerns.
So you're saying part of the ripple effect
We, as an organized protest, media protest, we notified the embassy. We reached out. We also talked to some people. Many people played different roles in getting the word out. I can show you some of the emails, you know. And it was rooted in the Japan African American Friendship Association members who were used to, we have a tradition of, you know, it's like our Jewish brothers who say never again, and the JDL, ADL, you know, and everything that doesn't work for them is anti-Semitic, you know. Well, we kind of have a tradition of protecting and preventing negative stereotypes when it doesn't, when it works against us or it's suppressing us. We respond. It's just a part of our existence in modern America, post civil rights era.
Right.
So this thing we do. Right.
So I'm just trying to list sort of some of the organizations you were talking about. Of course, led by the Japanese African American Friendship Association.
Yeah, very loosely, not officially, but these are people who are involved in that kind of unity. As those of us who've been here for the most time, So,
and then you also had the American Embassy. You had the Democratic Party of Japan.
Was made aware through the Party of Japan. Also became aware through their own, not necessarily anything that we might have generated, but it was public knowledge. It was a big story.
Right.
Yeah, big issue. So people who shared our concern, we took the initiative and we're on the front line, so to speak, of generating the protest. And just one letter from me led to the thing being resolved, but there was follow-up. There was aftermath. And people kind of pitched in, and the discourse then became, why, you know, why would they do this? And here they go again, because there's been a tradition of these kinds of photos over the years. But my counter in the bottom, you can see a picture of Nakasone. He and I are standing in Washington, D.C. at the National Press Club, because I escorted him from Japan during my years at CNN. And he made a national speech. But it came at a time when he also was criticized for saying some racist things that were similar in the lack of awareness and ignorance, you know what I'm saying? So after that photo was taken, then we went to the Congressional Black Caucus office where behind closed doors he bowed and apologized for having said some things, you know.
Okay.
And that followed a delegation of the Congressional Black Caucus coming to Japan and opening a dialogue and saying you can't do this. So there's been a tradition, a history of America influencing Japanese thinking and cultural awareness and things like this because of the bilateral relationship that Japan and America have shared since World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just wondering how deep you think that goes.
Pretty deep, not necessarily because it's America, but a lot to do with Japanese culture, Japanese face issues. So they don't want to do anything that causes embarrassment to themselves or to you.
But I guess, sure, they might apologize and be sincere in their apology, but do they change their opinions?
Well, I think it's a case-by-case situation. I can't give you a general response to that, but in this particular case, the problem was they had no opinion in terms of the offense that it represented. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And we give them a pass because I gave the guy the opportunity to be honest and forthcoming about why it became what it became. It had nothing to do with racism, really, right? Okay. So there was no opinion harbored that they're hiding.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's a whole other set of, it's a whole other dynamic that you find in cross-cultural issues.
But a case, for example,
so there's nothing for them to harbor or hide just by giving us, say, yeah, okay, we see what you're saying, we were wrong, and then harboring those feelings. No, feeling really wasn't there, I think, initially. Right?
But in the case of, say, somebody making some racist remarks or other kinds of negative stereotypes you were talking
different
about.
Situation, in my opinion, and not so sure, even though he was made aware of it and he was advised that people were listening other than his village constituency when he made the speech. Not so sure that there was a mind change, perhaps, because we recognize that maybe he harbored these kinds of images and impressions wherever they were derived, whether he's dealing with government leaders from Europe or non-African American kinds of influences that he may have, or that he valued, that he may have heard more stories from World War II, soldiers coming over talking about black folks had tails or whatever. Do you understand? So, or American media, which is the real culprit. We tend to wash our dirty laundry rather openly. And okay, so the headline says this, maybe he buys into a particular faction of American opinion, which could be Tea Party or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's out there. It's still a media thing. It's still an information thing. You pick and choose what you want to align yourself with for political reasons, economic reasons, in this case of the mobile thing, or whatever, social reasons, right? Complicated.
Complicated. No, but I appreciate you trying to tease out some of the complications. I think that's really important because it's not just
totally about education as far as I'm concerned. And awareness, cultural responsibility.
Okay. And I guess part of me is just asking. It's easy enough to say, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's an easy katemai to go through.
Absolutely.
And how much is then becomes funny?
Depends on the situation, as I'm trying to explain. The guy who I interviewed and gave an opportunity to explain himself was sincere in his I'm sorry. Maybe because he screwed up. And he screwed up and it created an impression that was unintended. In his heart of hearts. I believe that. I'm a great judge of liars and truthers.
Okay. All right.
And I'm telling this guy, he's too business savvy for him to harbor that kind of thing. If he knew that knowingly, he'd have been a dumb guy to have let that go. And he was not a dumb guy.
Right.
Okay? And he's not even Japanese. He's Korean Hong Kong. He's a real smart guy, business savvy guy. So he's a foreigner, a gaijin as I am. And so he knew the same things, but he let him pass. But he's not American. Although he may have been educated in England. Do you see what I'm saying? So it depends. You got to analyze it. And this particular Obama thing was interesting because the effect was worse than the intent. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but you don't get a pass, You don't get a pass because it's out there, you see. And so you got to do the right thing and protect yourself and just tell the truth about what it is, or confess to having been a racist again.
Now you've been in Japan decades.
Jim, how you doing?
All right.
Can I get you another one?
Yeah.
I knew it was about time. I'm counting.
I know. I apologize.
No. I know his pace.
Sorry, Jim.
I'm 4 minutes late, as a matter of fact.
Is this of interest to you at all?
Are you interested in hearing this we're talking about? You're not listening. So,
it's all right.
I'll show you the story later, and it'll become more interesting to you. Oh, they clowned Obama.
like somebody's digging this up or what?
No.
It's dug up. It ain't going
It
nowhere.
never went away until, okay, all right.
And even if it did, that doesn't mean it shouldn't be dug up, even if it did.
Yeah.
So nobody's trying to generate any hoopla about
No, I'm not a reporter.
it. Yeah, right. She's not a media, what's called person, but for educational purposes, she's an educator, not a media.
No, I see where you're going with this,
Ah,
but you said it doesn't mean the same thing here as it did there at home.
Absolutely. That's what we're talking. That's what we're talking about here. Yeah. Right.
Sorry about that.
No problem at all. Sorry for the. I guess we're still rolling. I got. There we go. Okay.
Okay, we'll finish
I
up.
hope this. Yeah. Come on.
We'll finish
We got
up.
another phase. We got another
Okay,
phase.
all right. If you don't mind.
No.
Okay.
I don't mind. I hope you don't mind because I want to give you. You know. Feel like I stole some of your time.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
Jim's been very cooperative. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you so much.
No problem.
I was just wondering if you could just tell me what some of the negative stereotypes of African Americans are in Japan. I know that you've dealt with some, et
Yeah,
cetera, et cetera.
well, they're not overt. They don't manifest themselves. Sometimes, like this, it's an image thing for the most part. So you got a monkey thing
Yeah.
portraying Obama, who happens to be an African American, half African American and stuff, but that's close enough to say, wait a minute. And it's a personal thing. So if I say I feel this way about it, you got to listen to me.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's not depending on you to judge whether you meant it or not. But hey, that's the way I feel. Now, whether I should feel that way or not is a whole other set of issues, right? Some of my white redneck friends would say, you're making too much of a deal out of it. And you could be right. You know what I'm saying? Get a life, take it easy. It ain't that, that kind of thing. So there's all kinds of, what is the word here? Impressions and also reactions to these kinds of things, and they're very personal. So, but it goes from the personal to the group, to the country, to the culture.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And so, back to the question. Many of them, in my experiences, have been images. The book of Little Black Sambo being put in the. You may have heard about this in the bookstores today, without the explanation that this was originally a racist kind of concept that became mainstream in American public schools and stuff like that, to which many African Americans protested and stuff. Said, well, this needs to be corrected or something like that. Because if it's going to be in the mind of a young kid, you can actually, that image is going to stick, and then it affects my kids. I told you the initial calling out was from a father whose kid was offended by the monkey portraying somebody who he taught her about to respect and love and be proud of. Yeah. Okay, so as far as if it gets to that, you're wrong. Yeah. It needs to be corrected, or at least studied or discussed.
Yeah.
Right? So back to the education, information aspect of this thing, which I always try to keep first and foremost in my pursuit of this kind of understanding, mutual understanding, cross-cultural communications. Got to take precedence and just hate or fight back or what kind of thing, revenge, avenging an offense or something like that. That's not secondary to why do you think that way? Why do you So those kind of images, they're usually caricature kind of things, as memory serves. Spoken word, offensive remarks that are not perceived necessarily to be heard by the major. So it's really, racism is fine as long as it's said privately, that kind of thing. That's how it thrives. Behind closed doors.
Yeah. You've been married, or you were married to one Japanese woman, and you're married to another Japanese woman. In other words, you've dealt with now two Japanese families. In other words, their parents.
I've raised two tribes in Japan. Yeah.
But how did they feel about their daughters marrying an African American?
They mean the parents of one.
That's right. That's right.
The spouse.
Yeah.
American. The question being married to an African American.
Yeah. To you.
Nothing to do with being an African American. It had everything to do with being a non-Japanese. So that's one of the interesting things about foreigners living in Japan, and then specifically an African American living in Japan, because I often say that here in Japan, you're either Japanese or you're not. And if you're not, then you're an outsider, which is what the word gaijin really means. Gai means outside. Jin is a person. So
gaijin trumps race.
Oh, absolutely. Race is secondary to all of that.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, if you skip out gaijin and go straight to race, sometimes it's even better because because of the image sensitivity of Japanese. Then they want to talk about Will Smith. Or then they want to talk about Obama. And then say, oh, you're good now. Oh, they want to talk about Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin. Whatever your color or race is, there are certain things that they may see in you and connect you with, regardless of your race, age, or gender, makes you a cool person to them. See?
Okay.
So see how it goes behind? So it's an image thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Has that image changed in the 3 decades that you've been in Japan?
You mean that
I guess
perceptibility by the Japanese of how they may see us
African
as
Americans.
African American?
Has it changed from the time you got here, early 1940s till now?
Well, it has changed along with, you see, we were talking earlier about the connectivity between Japan and things American and Japanese.
Right.
Boy, they buy in big time to our media, they buy in big time to our popular culture, they everything, you know, it's cool about America. So, to the extent that the images from America have changed, they have also changed accordingly in Japan. So,
Okay. All right.
that's their knowledge base, that's their source, for the most part. Yeah. They don't know. Otherwise, these little faux pas wouldn't arise, right? If they were aware. So,
Right.
that's all.
I remember in Reggie Life's film, not to bring him up again, but
Yeah.
in Reggie Life's film, I forget who it was, but somebody made the point that she's actually treated better, and she's an African American. She's treated better in Japan than in parts of the United States. How do you feel about that?
It's exactly what I just described to you. She's treated better for different reasons than why she was treated bad in the United States, if that's their problem, you know. So that makes it a better situation for her because they necessarily didn't buy into whatever image issues there were of her or repression images or racist issues that she may have suffered in that environment. Didn't matter here because there's some other things that she manifested in her persona that made her popular, pleasing to be with, and respected. She could have been a good teacher. She could have been a great songstress. She could have been a great artist, regardless if she was pink or whatever.
Or she could be an American.
Or she could be American. That had a good fashion sense or something like that, you know. So yeah, nationality could have trumped, as you said, race. For those who, you know. Now, when I first came here from CNN and put my CNN show on covering things Japanese, there was resentment from both the United States and Japan for different reasons. Or it's the same reasons, perhaps. Just a small faction, a small percentage of these, but it's memorable in its intensity from former military people who came over and prosecuted this war against the Japanese, who resented the fact that I was putting these images in their living room.
What images of Japan?
Of Japan, culture,
anything.
anything.
I see.
You know.
When you
So the mail I get was, you know, racist kind of things about I was on the Totown Death March in the Philippines at the hands of these fishhead and rice eaters, you know, blah, 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 blah. And signed Lieutenant Colonel so-and-so and so-and-so, who's 79 years old now, and never got over it. Understandable, maybe.
So we don't want to hear about Japan.
Don't want to hear about it. And I'm not watching CNN ever again. On the other hand, the old Japanese guys, right-wing, emperor-loving, haters of the American occupation and the defeat and the loss, who when the emperor denounced his deity status, jumped off buildings, committed suicide, those kinds of people still remained on early on. Don't hear much about that anymore, although they do exist. There are factions, right? Who resent anything Western.
Okay.
You know, for cultural reasons or royalty reasons or monarchy reasons or whatever. You know.
But then they're probably not watching CNN.
Well, they would have known, some of them may have known about it, you know, the fact that CNN was here covering Japan or something like that, you know. So some of them watch it because they look for issues to tick them off, so they don't, you know, complain about them. So yeah, I remember in the thousands of letters that I would get from year to year, there were some of those.
Huh. Do you personally find it, quote, easier to live in Japan than in the United States?
After all these years,
Yeah. Yeah.
34 years running, in Kakeyama City,
Uh-huh.
in Mal's Bar, with the Mal's Bar River running behind it,
Yes.
and my buddy Jim from Rochester. Where you from, Jim?
Me? Rochester.
Rochester, New York, coming out here and we're kicking it and having beers, having a good time. And there's not a better place on the planet for me to be blunt about it.
Okay.
Oh man.
Oh, okay.
And I invite you all to come hang out at Mal's. Christine, okay.
Oh, wait, why?
Yeah, well, that's not a bad place to be. Yeah.
So it-
I guess that's a yes.
A resounding.
Yeah. I say, well, people ask me, how was it being black living in Japan? I said, hey, you know, my African ancestors came to America on a boat by force. I flew here on a 747 by choice. You got to live somewhere. And I prefer living here now after all these years of falling in love with the place. But I do enjoy going back home and absorbing all that that represents for about 2 weeks. And then I can't wait to get back home.
What do you miss when you're in the U.S.? What do you miss about Japan?
The civilized environment, peaceful environment, camaraderie, the group orientation. I guess I've acquired a sense to appreciate this. The camaraderie, the clear definition of the function and role that I have here as someone who is not Japanese, and the enjoyment of being and representing who I am in the face of the Japanese culture that is foreign to me. That's my function, and it's such a joy and rewarding role for me to play here. When we go back home, it's cross-cultural, reverse-cultural kind of things that come into play, and you start finding yourself again in the maze again, you see. So the closest thing is being a family, or close friends, you know, when you grew up. And then you deal with the rest of them, whatever America represents, right? Politically, economically, socially, whatever.
Yeah. So you're saying that for you, being in Japan, it sounds like it's a more clearly defined role. Is that right?
That's part
that you find satisfying.
That's part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Not that we didn't have a clearly defined role back there, or I didn't have a clearly defined role back there, but it's more easily accessible, and I can manifest my function here without barrier, without confusion, without manipulation. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Is it because there are fewer of you here?
Probably is because I'm not from here. It's foreign, yeah. And so not necessarily there are many of me here insofar as being not Japanese.
Right.
So every foreigner comes here on equal footing, and there are no barriers to my achievement necessarily, the pursuit of my goals. That might be confronted for the various reasons in the United States. We're all on equal footing.
You mean
Foreigners.
So being gaijin in Japan in itself is a category.
It's a playing field, a flat playing field.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
no question about it.
All right. Interesting. Well, thank you. I'll
So far, should we stop there and
Sure.
can we resume in the morning?
That's absolutely fine.
Would you
Thank
feel
you
like
so
that?
much.
I will try to.
I'll
The
turn
place
this
is
off.
not buzzing with people. I don't expect to be up to 4 a.m. I got one this morning. I'm fading. I think you're probably fading.
Yeah, I'm done.
So I'm
Oh,
going
yeah.
to propose to Jim that we have a beer or two more. Then you came in a taxi, didn't you, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take this lady back to her hotel, and I'll be happy to give you a ride as well. Wherever you want to go. You all right? You okay with that?
Jim?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's got to get back. I got to get her back to the. I can leave you here and let you.
Yeah, no, no
When you
problem.
come back, but
Yeah.
I'm not rushing you.
No,
You got
no.
10
I
minutes.
was up to 4 in the morning myself.
Okay, yeah. So you're like
I
me.
was
Yeah.
coming up for a beer, that was it.
Okay, so we'll consider this place closed, and
Right.
Thank you.
and the beer's on me since I haven't seen you.
That was so.
Yeah.
All right.
How's that?
Oh.
And for your patience and
Thank you,
sitting through
Jim.
this interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We did pretty good though,
Right.
considering only one person came in. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
You got to listen to this interview. But do you mind?
No, it's absolutely fine.
Let me ask.
It's 11.
Okay, perfect. But when I was asking, do you mind?
Oh, I don't
Can
mind.
I ask you a couple questions? first?
Absolutely.
Okay, tell me about this project. What are you talking about? Your Obama? What is it? Give me
All
the,
right.
give me the gist on that. For my
Well,
particular check.
yeah. When I first started the project, I was just fascinated by Obama mania, period.
Okay.
So I just wanted to find out as much as I could about it.
Mhm.
And I'm an anthropologist of Japan, and this at least I was looking at it in Japan. Of course, there's Obama mania in various parts of the world, but there was.
Mhm.
So the kinds of probing that I'm doing on race is really just one part of it. When I was looking at the English language books, I was looking at I went to Fukui Prefecture to Obamashi.
Did you?
Yes.
I envy you because that was one of my intentions. I intended to go.
Yeah.
I've actually been there 3 times
Oh,
in my
okay.
career. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. It's a
And
cute
I
town.
knew-
Very cute town.
Oh, it's a wonderful town.
Yeah.
And they make great glasses, spectacles in
I
Sabae,
know.
which is a neighboring town. They have
All right.
crafts and stuff that they're known for.
All right.
But they really led the Obama mania
Yes.
in Japan, right?
Absolutely.
And he
Absolutely.
exchanged mail with the mayor of Obama City.
That's right. That's right.
Did you find all that out?
Oh yeah. And I met the hula troupe,
Okay.
Obama girls and
Oh,
boys.
no.
And so it's great. And I was there last summer.
Okay.
And so the project that I was really conceiving originally is just on Obama.
Okay.
Obama in Japan.
Yeah. Now,
Right.
did that have anything to do with the fact that you're from Hawaii and that's where he grew up?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. And we went to the same high school.
Okay. there you go.
And his mother, and this is actually really important, his mother is an anthropologist who got her degree from my department.
Get out of here.
We were students at the same time.
No, come on.
Although I-
Christy. You didn't know her.
I didn't know her because she was really not on campus that much. But same department.
Well, did you know his father?
No, because he was out of the picture way earlier.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
she did the slavery.
Yeah. She met the father when she was an undergrad.
I
So I'm
understand.
talking about she had her PhD in anthropology.
I understand.
Sounds like it's old, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's not over, so
Oh.
I'm getting some stuff from my tape for her, but I'm talking to her, but sit in. If you
Yeah.
got a question, don't hesitate. So tell me more specifically about the intent of the project.
So the project was simply looking at different aspects of Obama mania in Japan.
What is the project? You're going to
The project is a
published
book.
report?
A book.
Awesome. Okay.
And I actually
Working title? Yeah.
Right now, Obama no Obama.
Interesting. City of.
So I have and here borrowed celebrity politics and commodification in contemporary Japan. So you see, none of that is about race.
Explain that to me.
Borrowed celebrity,
Okay.
kind of